They say the dead leave behind traces, unseen fingerprints of memory pressed into wallpaper, floorboards, glass. I didn't believe in that, not until the night I moved into my sister's house on Bell Street. The place had the distinct smell of dust and perfume, like a vanity drawer left open too long. Everything was where Margaret left it. Her sweater still draped over the velvet armchair, her porcelain ashtray balanced on the window ledge. But it was the mirror that unsettled me. Tall, iron-framed and bolted to the plaster like it was afraid to fall, or worse, afraid to be taken. I couldn't explain it, but each night I felt it watching me. Not reflecting me. Watching. And then came the first whisper. I moved into Margaret's townhouse in October 1974, a month after her funeral. She had died alone in that creaking house, her body discovered by a neighbour who noticed the curtains hadn't been drawn for days. I was her only surviving family, recently widowed myself, and in no condition to argue with the logistics of inheritance. The house and everything in it now belonged to me. The neighbourhood was quiet, too quiet. Bell Street sloped slightly downhill and ended in a cul-de-sac where the street lamps buzzed low like flies. The townhouse was tall, narrow, and filled with dust that moved like smoke in shafts of late autumn light. The movers had cleared out most of her things, except for one object, the mirror. It stood at the end of the second-floor hallway, 7 feet tall, black wrought iron curling around the edges like vines turned to ash. The movers claimed it was bolted into the studs and part of the house. They said Margaret had asked them never to touch it. I didn't press. The first night I slept in the guest room. I was still unpacking. I passed the mirror on the way to bed, wrapped in an old drop cloth. Yet I felt it. A presence. Like being stared at in the dark by something that didn't blink. That night, I dreamed of Margaret. She stood on the other side of the mirror, tapping gently on the glass. Her face was sunken and drawn, her mouth open in a silent scream. When I woke, the house was cold. The drop cloth had slipped from the top corner of the mirror. The next day, I secured it tighter. I told myself it was nothing, just grief, guilt, sleep deprivation. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something lingered behind the glass, something that wasn't a reflection. It got worse. The nights stretched long. I began waking at 3:17 a.m. sharp, always that time. The mirror would be uncovered, though I had taped it down. I tested it, used masking tape, painter's tape, even nailed the sheet into the wallboard. Somehow, every night, the mirror stood exposed. Margaret appeared more frequently in my dreams and then during waking hours. Her reflection surfaced in the mirror even when I wasn't standing near it. I once passed it from the stairs and caught her image staring over my shoulder. Another time, I looked in while holding a cup of tea and saw 2 cups in my hands. I stopped going upstairs, slept on the couch. But the mirror's presence crept into every corner of the house. I could feel it behind closed doors, humming, vibrating faintly through the walls. Then the voices began. It started as a whisper, my name, soft and sorrowful, drawn out across syllables like smoke through a crack. Irene! I turned off the TV, the radio, the furnace. Still, the voice came, and it wasn't just Margaret's anymore. One was a man, rough, distant, another a child's sob. Sometimes they argued, sometimes they cried, and more than once they begged, not for help, for escape. I went to the local parish and asked about an exorcist. The priest's face went pale when I gave my address. Bell Street, he asked. That was the Carrow house before Margaret moved in. They had tragedies too. He wouldn't say more. I did my own digging, visited the Baltimore County Records Office. In 1949, a woman named Clara Carrow hanged herself in the hallway. Her husband vanished in 1951. A child, never named, was reported missing from the same house in 1962. The only thing consistent in every photo attached to the documents was that mirror. Same curls of wrought iron, same cloudy glass, same warped top corner. I confronted the mirror that night. I stood in front of it with every light on in the house. What do you want? I demanded, and then it answered. The glass shimmered like heat rising off asphalt. It showed me Margaret, but not as I remembered. She was inside a grey, windowless room, curled in a corner, mouthing words I couldn't hear. A man stood behind her, tall, unmoving. His face was a blank smear. I staggered backward. The hallway grew colder. The lights dimmed. And in the mirror, I saw myself standing where she had been, inside, behind the glass. I screamed, ran, locked the door to the guest room, slept with the lamp on. But sleep became war. The glass shimmered like heat above a flame, a rippling that didn't distort my reflection, but erased it entirely. I was gone. In my place stood Margaret, and behind her, a line of others. Dozens. Some weeping, some expressionless. All trapped in that dim, ash-coloured world behind the mirror. Then I saw myself, far in the background, staring with hollow eyes. I ran, slammed the bedroom door, stuffed towels under the crack. I sat in the corner with a lamp and a crucifix and a bottle of gin. It didn't matter. The whisper came through anyway. Join us. The next morning I tried to smash the mirror. I took a fire poker from the fireplace and brought it down with everything I had. The glass didn't crack. Instead, it absorbed the strike like a pond surface. The iron frame hummed. For a moment, I swear I heard breathing, not mine, from just behind my shoulder. I began to lose time. I'd wake up in different rooms. Lights on I hadn't touched, notes in my handwriting I didn't remember writing, mostly gibberish or numbers. Once. Let it in. The final straw came when I found the basement door open. It had always been stuck. I never bothered with it. But that morning it yawned open, as though inviting me down. On the top stair sat the mirror. Yes, the mirror. The one bolted to the wall upstairs. And yet, there it was. Leaning against the foundation wall, fogged over, dripping wet though the basement was dry. I turned. The hallway upstairs was empty. No dragging marks, no disturbance, 2 mirrors. I don't know which one is real anymore. That night, I wrote a letter to myself. I said if I found it torn or missing, I would leave the house immediately. I hid it in the laundry chute. It vanished, and that's when I accepted the truth. The mirror didn't want to be destroyed. It wanted a replacement, and I was the next in line. I don't remember deciding to stay, but I'm still here. Sometimes I think I'm moving freely, cooking, reading, journaling, but then I'll glance toward the hallway and see myself already standing in front of the mirror, eyes glassy, mouth moving soundlessly. The phone rings. I don't answer. Mail piles up outside. The neighbours don't knock anymore. And the mirror, it hums louder now, not like electricity, but like wind howling through a keyhole. It wants to be full, complete. And it's almost there. I found Margaret's journal yesterday. I didn't put it there, but it sat neatly in the middle of the floor, open to the final entry. Once you see yourself on the other side, it's too late. I tried to write this down, to explain, to leave some warning. But my hands, my reflection's hands, don't match anymore. She's smiling. And I can feel the glass softening, like a veil between 2 rooms growing thin with time. Tonight, I will sleep in front of the mirror. I think that's what it wants. I think it's already inside me. When police entered the Bell Street house 2 weeks later, they found it unlocked and cold. There were no signs of a break-in, no fingerprints, no disturbance. Just an unlit hallway, a cup of tea long gone cold, and a shattered mirror. It had fractured from the inside out. Mrs. Dunning, the neighbour, claimed she saw Irene in the window that morning, standing perfectly still, as if waiting for someone. But when officers searched the house, she was gone. They collected the glass, bagged it, stored it. A month later, a clerk at evidence lockup quit suddenly, saying he heard scratching from inside the container. The case was closed, cause of disappearance, unknown. But the house remains unsold. And if you walk Bell Street on a foggy night and glance up at the second-floor window, you just might see a flicker of someone watching you back.
And so, the shadows stretch further, and the mystery only deepens. But this is far from the end. It's merely the beginning. What lingers beyond the door? Who is whispering your name? And what is that shifting in the corner of your eye? The answers await in the next chapter of these chilling tales. Subscribe to Nightfall Crypt and hit the notification bell, because the crypt's secrets are endless and the darkness never sleeps. Until next time, stay in the light if you can.